Hi everybody, and welcome to what's probably the last video I'm going to make for the Cessna 172 with the honeycomb yoke, throttle quadrant and the X-Touch Mini and the Stream Deck. So I've got all my hardware up and running at the moment, and let's just flick some switches. There we are. So the flight's going to be a test flight, really testing the VNAV, making sure that works, but it uses quite a few of the systems that we've set up, so it'd be quite a nice demonstration flight. Now, believe me, I'm not a trained pilot at all, I'm just a flight simmer, and I'm also cutting quite a few corners here deliberately just to speed up the video, otherwise it could be an hour and a half long. So I'll be editing in and out, and I'll be skipping some parts of the procedure. But today's flight, what I'm going to do is I'm going to fly, this is the southeast of England here, and I'm going to fly what would be a short hop from Southend to Luton Airport, but I'm going to do it IFR, which means it should give me an approach sequence, an RNAV VNAV approach. And it should, with the weather situation we've got today, take me into a waypoint Abbott, which will then take me down on a bit of a winding route, not too bad, but into London Luton Airport there. So that's the route we're going to do. So from Southend, we'll fly out this way a little bit, and then we'll get the allocation and switch off over to Abbott and go that way. Okay, so let's get into our cockpit here, and we're really looking at the MFD here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put at the top right hand corner a camera as best I can on my X-Touch and the top part of the honeycomb yoke, so you can see the buttons and things that I press, so you get a vague idea of what's going on there. It's really hard to light the buttons because they're black on black, and I've got a white strip at the top, so getting that balance is pretty hard, but I'll talk you through and tell you that. And at the top left hand part of the screen, somewhere up here, I've got a software window looking at my Stream Deck. You won't be able to see my finger pressing buttons, but you'll see it change. You'll see what the allocations are like. And at the moment I've got the sound channel for the engine switched off, so I can hear it but you can't, and I'll turn that back on as we get into flight. So let's have a look at what we want to do. I want to go into the flight plan mode here and put in what I know of the flight plan, and strictly speaking all I know is my origin and my destination, so we'll drop those in. So I'm using the MFD rotary here. So to get the cursor up, I press the push switch at the bottom here, and I'm going to turn this knob here so that it moves down to that line there, and I need to move to the inner knob now, so I press inner and turn that, and I can start to put in the ident for the origin waypoint. Which is echo, so I'm just using the inner to get around to E. Now I want to use the outer function, so I press the button again to move across one, back to inner, golf, Mike Charlie. So between each letter you just press once to change mode, move across, press once and rotate it, and that's Southend, and I can enter that, so that's okay. And I don't know which runway it is, so we'll just get out of that, back into the outer mode so I can move down to my destination. And I want Echo Golf Golf Whiskey for that. Echo Golf through to whiskey. And confirm that, and confirm we don't know the runway. I'm sort of finished with that for the moment, so I'm going to turn the cursor off so nothing accidental can happen. So I just press that push switch there, the cursor is off. So really the next bit is over here on the PFD, and what we're going to do is call up the air traffic control. So if I bring that into life, and I shall park this out of the way, I know that they're going to give me a couple of things. Well, first of all, let's go to the ATIS and we'll get our barometer set. So let's get that set into barometer mode, and we'll tune for the ATIS. So that is 136 decimal 055, and we'll swap that in to be active. What I'm going to do is I'll turn on the recording channel so you can actually hear the voice. There we go. Right.
Southend Airport information, Charlie 1400 Zulu. Wind 269er at 7. Visibility 6. Sky condition 4,800 feet scattered. Temperature 18. Dew point 10. Altimeter tree 0.0 ILS runway 23 in use.
And if I tune to ground now as well.
VFR aircraft say direction of flight. All aircraft read back hold short instructions. Advise controller on initial contact. You have Charlie. Southend Airport information, Charlie 1400 Zulu.
And we'll swap that over. So anyway, I've set the altimeter, the barometer setting there. The next thing I'm going to be given when I request my IFR clearance, I'm going to get my code for the squawk. So let's get into the transponder and into the code view on the stream deck and on the screen as well. So I'm ready to put the code in, and they're going to give me an altitude and the departure frequency. I'm going to park this over on my second monitor so it's out of your way. And we need to request the IFR clearance.
Tower Cessna Golf Bravo, Mike ready to copy IFR clearance to Luton.
Cessna Golf Bravo, Mike is cleared to Luton Airport as filed. Takeoff runway 23 climb and maintain 10,000 feet. Departure frequency is 118 decimal for 75 squawk 6305.
So my code's in, and we're still in standby mode at the moment. Let's acknowledge that.
Cessna Golf Bravo, Mike cleared to Luton Airport as filed. Takeoff runway 23 climb and maintain 10,000 feet. Departure on 118 decimal 475 squawk 6305.
Cessna Mike read back correct. Contact ground on 127 decimal 73. Good day.
Okay, so they give me the altitude, so what we're going to do is turn this knob here so it's reading altitude here, and use this to dial in the 10,000 feet. It's a shame that this can only work in hundreds. If you look at the actual stacked knob here, that's thousands and hundreds. I have got 2 free rotaries, so I'm considering whether to allocate them to that to save me a lot of turning. But I've got to get used to using the honeycomb, and when I come to do a more complex aircraft I may not have the luxury of unallocated rotaries, so let's get to grips with using this. So that's at 10,000, and I can pre-populate my departure frequency, which is 118 decimal 475, because I know that tower and ground use the same frequency here, so the next frequency switch is going to be this one. If it's not, what I do, that's when you use COM2, and you can have it ready in COM2. So that's populated, ready to go. So the next step would be to get ready to taxi. I'm going to swap back to the cabin view, and I've got a head tracker on, so I'm actually going to reset my head tracker, which means it's okay looking around the cockpit. I'm sure you'd be okay with that, but when I go to look at other information on my second screen or look down at my control switches, I'm afraid it does look a bit odd. I don't see that because of course I'm not looking at that monitor, but I'm aware that when you're watching it you do get to see all this kind of movement, so it's a bit strange. Okay, let's just reset that. There we are. Okay, so we need to get some lights on ready. We're going to do our taxi now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to edit bits out of this. We're not going to, you won't see all the taxi, and we'll do some bits to speed things up. And
Ground Cessna Golf Bravo Mike with Charlie ready to taxi IFR.
Cessna Golf Bravo Mike taxi to and hold short of runway 23 via taxiway Charlie Alpha. Contact tower on 127.7 tree when ready.
Taxiing hold short runway 23 using taxiway Charlie Alpha Cessna Mike.
So I'm going to edit some bits out. You won't see all of the taxi, and also I'm cutting short lots of procedures, all the engine run-ups and stuff like that. So let's just drop the parking brake and let's spin around, and you can have a quick look at some of the scenery that's here. I'm just going to do a bit of a dodgems, so you can see. I'm going to race around, but I'm going to edit loads of this out. Okay, so I'm at the hold point, so we're going to get clearance now ready. What I do need to do first of all is to turn on the transponder. So I need to get everything back in sequence again. Into my transponder, and we're going to turn that on ready for altitude mode.
Tower Cessna Golf Bravo Mike at runway 23 ready for departure IFR to Luton.
Cessna Golf Bravo Mike altimeter tree 0.03129er at 7. Cleared for takeoff runway 23.
Cleared for takeoff runway 23 Cessna Golf Bravo Mike.
Okay, so one of the things I like to do is to set my heading onto the runway direction. Firstly, make sure I turn onto the right runway, and secondly, I can use it afterwards to go into autopilot heading hold mode, so it's ready to go. So I've just turned on the strobe landing lights, and I'm going to put the fuel pump and the piston heat on. One notch of flaps, and just on the toe brakes, turn the parking brake off, and off we go. Okay, so the best rate of climb for this aircraft is 74 knots, so I'm going to try and keep an eye on that and the direction. pretty much out of runway now, so we can have flaps up, so we've got positive climb. Turn the fuel pump off because that's not needed. Landing lights off, taxi lights off.
Cessna Mike, contact London Center on 118.475. Good day.
118.475 Cessna, Mike.
So we can flip that over on the active swap.
Climb and maintain flight level 180 Speedbird 637. Easy 2 tree 89er climb and maintain flight level tree 60. Speedbird 637, your tree 4 miles southeast. Descend and maintain 4,000 feet. Keep speed not above 220 knots. Expect ILS runway 27 left approach via Bravo India Golf transition. Clear to Bravo India Golf. JetX 1254 descend and maintain flight level 260. Ryanair 1832 climb and maintain flight level 270. Speedbird 886 climb and maintain flight level 270. Speedbird 637 descend and maintain 3,000 feet. Keep speed not above 220 knots. Speedbird 700
Okay,
climb
so
and
while they're
maintain
talking,
flight
I'm
level
going to
310.
put this into vertical flight
Climb
control
and maintain
mode.
flight level 270 Ryanair 1832.
I'm going to dial in 74 knots and turn the autopilot on and put it into heading hold. Right, let's see if we can get in.
London Center Cessna Golf Bravo, Mike, is passing 2,300 feet, climbing 10,000 feet.
Cessna Golf Bravo Mike, London Center altimeter tree 0.0 tree, continue as planned. Cessna Mike, you are 4 tree miles southeast. Maintain present heading and altitude, expect ILS runway 25 approach via Abbott transition. Clear to Abbott.
Maintain present heading and altitude, expect ILS runway 25 approach via Abbott transition, clear to Abbott Cessna Mike.
Speedbird 637 contact approach on 120.4.
Okay, so I've got the clearance to Abbott, and it doesn't really mean continue on my current heading and altitude. It means my planned one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use heading mode,
120 for Speedbird 637.
and I'm going to turn my heading bug around so that we can capture the original GPS.
London Center Ryanair 1782 1,100 feet. Speedbird 850 climb and maintain flight level 290, keep speed not above 280 knots.
And I'm going to go in and program in the approach that they're giving us, the Abbott approach. But I'm just going to lean the engine
Ryanair
back a bit
7963
because
climb
we'll
and
be
maintain flight level
taking
270.
eye off that for a while. So I'm just getting the RPMs up.
Climb and maintain flight level 290, keep speed not above 280 knots. Speedbird 850.
And we're going to have a look
Ryanair
at the
6541
MFD
climb
side of
and
things.
maintain 17,000 feet.
So I want to put a procedure in. So we're going to click procedure now. I'm selecting approach. So I press enter to select an approach. And
Climb and maintain 17,000 feet.
I want it
Ryanair 6541.
ILS 25.
Easy 2561 climb and maintain flight level 230.
I want Abbott.
Climb and maintain flight level 270 Ryanair
Enter.
7963.
And I'm actually going to activate it because it said we're clear to it
Climb and
straight
maintain
away.
flight level 230 easy 2561.
So using the outer control now, all the way down to active, and press enter. And it's for monitoring only, but that's okay. We're going to do that. So yes. So now I've got that added to our flight plan, and it says our next waypoint is direct to Abbott. So I'm going to change that now from heading to nav mode, and it should pick up the GPS and turn onto that. And the altitude is still going up. We're still in vertical in flight level change mode, so we're going up at 74 knots, and we are 27.9 27.8 nautical miles to run to Abbott. And if we look over here, you can see on the MFD, that's where we're going to reach our target altitude. We should reach 10,000 feet by there. So there isn't much for us to do except look perhaps at leaning.
Climb and maintain 17,000 feet, Qatari 8. Qatari 8, climb and maintain flight level 210.
A lot of chatter on the channel today. Up here you can possibly see next to the RPM gauge on my stream deck, there's the exhaust gas temperature in Celsius. I'm going to put it to full rich for the moment, and you'll see that we lose a lot of exhaust gas temperature, but I'm going to concentrate on the exhaust gas temperature gauge here. So I'm reading 820 Celsius, 818, and I'm now going to try and lean by pulling that back. I'm looking for the peak exhaust gas temperature. And it's climbing on my stream deck. It's now at 819, 820, but I can't see much change happening because this scale is all wrong on the exhaust gas. It's not fine enough. They needed to tear off the first couple of 100 degrees, but it's moved a bit now. I'm on 839, 840, 845. What I'm going to do is go past the maximum peak, so I'm going to lean it so that it goes down a bit.
Genix 150 tree climb and maintain flight level 190. Speedbird 850
And it's going down on my stream
level
deck.
360.
I can't see that change, it's too hard to see.
6541 climb and maintain flight level 250.
The other option you've got is to go into
Speedbird 910
engine
climb
mode
and
here,
maintain flight level 190.
and into the lean. And I have got the exhaust gas temperature in Fahrenheit there, so again I'm going to go to full rich.
United 506 descend and maintain flight level 380. KLM 105 traffic is 7 o'clock 4 miles.
And just let that cool down for a bit.
Generic. Report them in sight. Climb and maintain flight level 190 Genix 150 tree.
That's still cooling, but we're getting there. Okay, we'll sort of treat that as a bottom line now. So let's again lean mixture out, and you'll see the Fahrenheit scale going up on here. So leaning back, we should see now the temperature rising. We're looking for the peak. Now it's going down again, so I need to go just the other side of that,
Flight level 200 KLM 9er 19er.
and a bit richer. So that's pretty well leaned. The other system we've got is this one here called Assist. So I'm going to put it into full rich mode, which means I'm losing power, and it should cool down.
52 and hashtag 93. 7650 climb and maintain flight level
Now if I click on the Assist, just let it cool a little bit more.
Climb and maintain flight level 360 to air and hashtag 91. 52 and hashtag
What that'll do is it
93.
will capture the current temperature when I clicked on the Assist, and you can see now I've gone down 16.
Level 240 city 9er 19er.
And it's looking for the delta let's lean it again, get some more power in, and you'll see that it's above whatever temperature it was I captured it, and it's going to tell me the difference. And I'm up to 11 degrees, 12 degrees, 17. So I'm 50 odd degrees, 59, 60 degrees above. And it's gone down now, so I need to go back up again and just slightly reach of the peak temperature change. It's about there. So that's quite useful, this assist business here, that helps. But using that gauge isn't very useful. How are we doing? Yeah, we're getting towards the 10,000. And you can see here's the marker coming in. Now, this section here is the all the waypoints, and these are the crossing altitudes. So we have to be at or above that crossing altitude for the VNAV section to work, which we will be. We're a bit 10,000 feet. So when we get this stable and it's in altitude hold mode, then I'll be able to. Sorry about the interference from air traffic control. Once we get into altitude hold mode, then I'll be able to switch on and stand by the vertical nav, VNAV mode, because we will be above that. But we also need to make sure that we we're giving it permission to descend. Because if I look down here, I'm going to just turn on the cursor and roll down here. You can see eventually we're going to end up at 3,000 feet and then eventually at 1,800 feet. And I'll show you the significance of that in a minute. So we're nearly at the 10,000 feet mark.
Toy air in hashtag 91, 52 in hashtag 93, 5658 climb and maintain 6,000 feet.
And we might need to look at leaning a little bit more. I'm doing it just with the RPMs.
Climb and maintain 6,000 feet to air in hashtag 91, 52
no, that's
in
about right. It's about the maximum we're going to get at this altitude. And we're coming up towards.
Mike, climb and maintain 14,000 feet. City Niner 19er descend and maintain 12,000 feet.
Climb and maintain 14,000 feet, Cessna. Mike.
I think he's quite ambitious. That's not the worst I've had.
Descend and maintain 12,000 feet, City Niner 19er. Genix 1241 climb
we
and
can try
maintain
it.
flight
Let's
level
put it back
360.
into.
Descend and maintain 9,200 feet. Keep speed not above 220 knots. Ryanair 5173.
Flight level control mode.
Climb and maintain flight level 360 Genix 1241.
74 knots.
Ryanair 5173 contact Stansted approach on
And we've got 14,000 feet out of us, so let's see what we can do.
United 506 traffic is 4 o'clock 4 miles at flight level 350 generic. Report them in sight. United 506 have the traffic. .625 for Ryanair 5173. Cessna Mike descend and maintain 8,000 feet.
Descend and maintain 8,000 feet, Cessna. Mike.
So first I'm going to put it into altitude hold mode. And now I'm going to descend to vertical speed. So let's put it into VS mode. Turn this to VS, and I'm going to dial in
19er descent and maintain 16,000 feet.
A descent. And
Genix 1241
my
traffic
target
is
altitude
11 o'clock 2
8,000.
miles at flight level 340 generic. Report them in sight. TUI Air and hashtag 91, 52 and hashtag 93, 5658 climb and maintain flight level 190.
And watching my throttle in case I overspeed.
London Center Genix 1525 is at 1,800 feet, climbing 9,000 feet. Genix 1525 London Center altimeter
Okay.
30.03, continue to Zigger as planned. Cessna Mike, please expedite your descent 8,000 feet. Cessna Mike, traffic is 7 o'clock 3 miles at 6,700 feet generic. Report them in sight.
No idea. Can't see behind me.
Climb and maintain flight level 190 TUI Air and hashtag 91, 52 and hashtag 93, 5658. Eurotrans 277 climb and maintain flight level 360. Genix 1525 traffic is 9 o'clock 4 miles at 1,000 feet generic. Report them in sight. Climb and maintain flight level 360 Eurotrans 277. Genix 1525 have the traffic.
Cessna, Mike, don't have generic in sight.
London Center Genix 1465 is at 2,100 feet, climbing 5,000 feet. Genix 1465 London Center altimeter 30.03, continue to Zigger as planned.
Again, the blue arc.
Genix 1348 descend and maintain flight level 220.
Alright, turn them right
Ryanair
down.
249er 6 descend and maintain 13,000 feet, keep speed not above 250 knots.
The blue arc here, that's when we're going to meet
Descend and
the
maintain flight level 220 Genix 1348.
altitude that was set.
TUI Air and hashtag 91, 52 and hashtag 93, 5658 traffic is 2 o'clock 1 miles at 13,000 feet generic. Report them in sight. Descend and maintain 13,000 feet, keep speed not above 250 knots. Ryanair 249er 6. Finnair 1336 climb and maintain flight level 190. Ryanair 249er 6 descend and maintain 7,000 feet. TUI Air and hashtag 91, 52 and hashtag 93, 5658 traffic in sight. Genix 1465 traffic is 9 o'clock 4 miles at 400 feet generic. Report them in sight.
Okay, so we're at in altitude hold mode now, and if I press VNAV,
Dynasty 81 descend and
nothing happens because we haven't given it permission to go below 8,000 feet, so there's no room for it to go. So what we want to do is to change the altitude, and I'm going to take it right the way down
465 climb and maintain flight level 190.
to our target, which was 1,800. Some people like to do it in steps each time, but I'm going to give it permission to go all the way down. And now if I press the VNAV, you can see that it's in white but VPAR, so it means it's armed, ready to pick up what's going to happen next. And it says over here, that we're going to start our top of descent in 1 minute 45 seconds. That's here just about the same time that we hit Abbott. Abbott in 1 minute 44, and the top of descent just a little bit before that is when we're going to start to descend. It's going to be interesting because it's quite busy tonight, and I've got it looks like 2 EasyJets lined up behind me, about 3 miles behind me, slightly higher than I am. Okay, so it's given me that instruction to go down to 6,000 feet, but I'm actually going to start my descent here in about 3 or 4 seconds, over 25 seconds. So we're going to start the turn now, and then it will start to descend. And there we are. It's detected we're on the vertical path now, so it's going to keep this tag in the middle. It's telling me that I'm on the vertical path, and this tab will be in the middle, and it'll descend, and it's going to do like a 2.4% glide, which is about right for this aircraft. So I need to pull back on the throttle, otherwise we're going to overspeed. Now we're going downhill. So I didn't have to touch anything after I'd armed the V path and gave it the permission to go eventually down to 18,000 feet. It won't go to 1,800 feet straight away. It'll be constrained by these. So I should be seeing something ahead of me pretty soon. There it is in the clouds there. So he's cut the corner quite nicely and got ahead of me. So we're heading down to 6,000 feet now. I've just turned the cockpit sound back up again so you can hear what's going on, and as soon as I do that, the ATC chatter has stopped. But there you are.
Load Air 2567 climb and maintain 17,000 feet. Climb and maintain 17,000 feet. Load Air 2567.
One of the things that I got wrong, this request IFR clearance for instrument flight plan, I did that right at the beginning when I asked for clearance and that kind of stuff, and it comes up again. What I suggest you do is don't press on it, because what it'll do, it'll cancel your clearances and will clear you direct to the airport, and it may or may not give you another approach. So if that keeps coming up, don't press on it. That's kind of one of the key things I've seen recently. Okay, we should be approaching 6,000 feet now, so I've got to watch my throttle. And I can probably enrich the mixture a little bit. So I'm watching the RPMs.
London Center Ryanair Tree 846 is at 1,300 feet, climbing 11,000 feet. Ryanair Tree 846 London Center altimeter tree 0.05. Continue to D144I as planned. Ryanair 264 642 climb and maintain 17,000 feet. Climb and maintain 17,000 feet. Ryanair 2642. Dynasty 81 descend and maintain 7,000 feet. Keep speed not above 250 knots. Jetix 1465 climb and maintain flight level 270. Finnair 1 tree 6 climb and maintain flight level 360.
Okay, so it's telling us we're nearly at the altitude now.
Climb and maintain flight level
So leveling out, so I need to
1465. Climb and maintain
push the
flight
power a
level
bit.
360. Finnair 1 tree 6.
And you can see again it's armed the V path ready for the next change.
Descend and maintain 7,000 feet. Keep speed not above 250 knots.
So that's where we're going to start descending again here. The top of descent in another 3 minutes. We'll go down to the next step.
Good day. Cessna Mike descend and maintain 3,000 feet.
Okay, so he's spotted that we're going down soon.
127
I'm again not going to
Dynasty 81.
respond immediately. The top of descent is 47 seconds away.
London Center Ryanair 287 is passing 2,100 feet, climbing 8,000 feet. Ryanair 287 London Center altimeter 30.06. Continue as planned.
Descend and maintain 3,000 feet. Cessna Mike.
So we're 18 seconds away, and we'll start the descent. So back on the throttle again in a minute.
Ryanair 846 climb and maintain flight level 210.
And again, it's changed to V path to tell us we're going somewhere. We're going down, and back with the throttle off.
Climb and maintain flight level 210. Ryanair 846.
And this time it's quite a steep descent, 4.7.
Ryanair 1452 descend and maintain flight level 360. Descend and maintain flight level 300. Chanix 986. Descend and maintain flight level 360. Ryanair 1452. London Center Ryanair 902 is passing 7,200 feet, descending 6,000 feet.
And you can see here it's got
Mike contact, Luton approach on 129.55. Good day.
here it's got the bottom of descent. That's where we're going to finish this descent.
As planned.
Okay, so he's handing me off now to
Ryanair 902 contact, Luton approach on
Luton approach.
129.05. Good day.
129.55 for Cessna Mike.
Going to 132.05. Ryanair 902.
Luton approach Cessna Golf Bravo Mike is at 4,200 feet, descending 3,000 feet.
Cessna Golf Bravo Mike Luton approach altimeter 30.06. Continue to Bravo Kilo Yankee as planned.
So this one here is the where we would reach 1,800 feet if we were on this descent. But when we get to the BOD, that's when we'll be at 3,000 feet. It's the bottom of this descent here. So about to make our turn. This next turn coming up, and just about reaching the bottom of the descent at exactly the right point. So we're crossing that just on 3,000 feet. So again, needs to be back on the throttle. And we can look at our mixture again. So we've got 3,000 feet for the crossing points for the next 9 miles or so. So if we keep an eye on this here, it's already programmed in for us. I haven't touched this. It's put that the ILS frequency in for us, and it's identified it. So at some point soon that should pick up the localizer, that should lock onto that. Well, there's the localizer, and we've also started the descent here as well. In fact, it's come out of VPath. So if we now flip over to approach mode, because it picks up the localizer. So I've just pressed approach mode on here, and you can see here we've got the glide slope mark, so it's going to try and pick up the glide slope, and we're on the localizer. So I think it's time to put some lights on, so we will taxi and landing lights on. And you can see the glide slope kicking in here.
Cessna Mike, you are 10 miles east of Luton. Contact tower on 132.555 when inbound.
Tower on 132.555 Cessna, Mike.
I can hear a heavy jet coming. There he is. One 132.555.
Tower Cessna Golf Bravo, Mike, 8 miles east inbound ILS runway 25 approach.
Cessna Golf Bravo, Mike Tower. Altimeter tree 0.0 tree wind 250 at 8. Cleared ILS runway 25 approach.
Cleared ILS runway 25 approach Cessna, Mike.
Okay, so it's caught the glide slope, so come back on the throttle now, and we'll go mixture full rich.
On final. Wind 250 at 8. Cleared to land runway 25.
Cleared to land runway 25 Cessna, Mike.
Okay, going to put the first set of flaps in now. And fuel pump on. That's it, we're really 3.9 miles all the way down now. Again, slowing down so we can clear the runway. Don't really want another go around. I can see flashing lights on the runway. And autopilot out.
755.
121.755 Cessna, Mike. Luton Ground Cessna Golf Bravo, Mike, request taxi to the gate.
Cessna Golf Bravo, Mike, taxi to gate 61 via taxiway Charlie Delta Echo.
Taxiing to gate 61 via taxiway Charlie Delta Echo Cessna, Mike.